So Meredith, tell us about yourself.
Well, I am the relationship advice columnist for the Boston Globe. So as you can imagine, after many years of giving love advice, this is a show that is very fun for me to watch because if only I could sit down with every character on this show.
Oh, wow.
I mean, the work I'd have. Write a whole year's worth of columns on this show.
It's pretty great. That's a really cool job, and I'm curious, what is your favorite part of it?
I think it's just knowing that I get real letters from people who are going through struggles like right now. So people who just really want to do their best in their relationships, and they're wondering if they should get married or get divorced, or how to ask somebody out on a first date, or how to navigate, the middle of a marriage. And, it makes me feel like I'm having a zillion relationships at once because I get to live vicariously through the best and the worst of it. But, at the end of the day, it's made me very optimistic about relationships because people are really thoughtful when they write me a letter. So that means they're thinking.
Oh, wow.
That's great.
That is, I think, the opposite reaction of what I would have. I feel like it'd be easy to get so bummed out about the struggles that people are having. It's really nice to think about things.
And that's what I feared, but the opposite is true because when you take time to write a letter like that, you're really trying to do better.
Yeah. That's a great way to put it. It's very optimistic. But how does one become a relationship columnist?
Well, I was doing a lot of stories for the Globe about technology and how it was changing people's relationships, and yet I also had opinions about how it should change relationships. And I think that there's a long history of reporters becoming advice columnists. So, I said to the Globe, maybe this is something we should have locally in-house. And 10 years later, it's a great community of people. I think people who read advice columns are so much fun. They love to talk about this stuff. So whenever anybody says, well, what qualifies you? I always joke, well, nothing, right? But if I were a true mental health professional, you don't sort of tell people what to do after reading their letter. But, but in this kind of like group therapy session, it's a nice outlet for people.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So, you've said about Poldark, you would have your work cut out with this
I
group.
would have my work cut out for me.
But what else do you love about the show?
I mean, one thing I love about the show is that in so many narratives about love, we spend so many years on a will they or won't they, that we lead up, will Jim and Pam get together, right? And then it's many seasons in that they do. When I first started watching Poldark, which my friend Joni told me to watch, so thanks, Joni. I was shocked that by like episode 3, they're married, right? And they're having a child. And so the most interesting part of the relationship to me, which is not necessarily the meet cute, but like the nuts and bolts of a marriage, a complicated marriage, that's what we get to see. So I love the span of time. I love that it's not just a story about flirtation, that it really shows us even the boredom in a relationship, I think, to some extent.
Absolutely. And we have seen that with them. Sometimes they do get their own boredom, and though we have seen that
they know how to scratch the 7-year itch.
They do.
Ross and Demelza certainly find ways to get rid of that boredom.
They do,
in
but
their own
even
ways.
I think it's like right around season 2 where he's sort of thinking about Elizabeth in a different way, and I think how unique is it to have a show where there's already that looking in another direction that we would never see in another narrative.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And what are other dramas that you like besides Poldark?
I mean, my gosh, I know that I will rewatch Buffy the Vampire Slayer over and over and over. I love the show Lovesick, which was an English show. I mean, there's so many shows. I usually it's at the heart of relationships, but if we're talking about what I would recommend, is that what we are? Is that the question here?
We'll actually get to that a little bit
because
later
I have
on,
so
save
I have
your recommendation.
okay.
Yes,
I'm
we're
saving
excited.
it. Yeah,
We're saving that for.
But really,
our
if people
perfect
make
point.
out, I probably like that show.
It's funny that you say Buffy because that's a show we both enjoy that as well,
Yes.
and that is a show with so many complicated relationships.
It is, and when you think about like eternal life and this sort of metaphor what does it forever mean? What does it look like? That's something I find. I love all vampire narratives because I think it's a great metaphor for marriage. And one of my favorite movies is Only Lovers Left Alive because it's sort of about marriage and what happens when you're married literally forever.
Yeah, wow, I never
You
really
know,
thought
it's
about
like
that way,
it's
but-
like it kind of just keeps going, and so
Yeah.
how do you make it work?
We'll talk more about this.
Okay.
After
Oh
the
yeah,
show.
this is going to be fun.
But this was a great interview with you. Thank you so
Thank
much for giving
you.
us a window into your life.
Thank you.